All right, everyone. This is APO Sports, and we don't have time for pleasantries or none of that shit. There's just so much to go over about this complete disaster that was this game between the Indiana Fever and the Las Vegas Aces. I mean, I just can't believe my eyes, and it was super frustrating because number one, I'm trying to watch this game at work, and I really couldn't because I was in a meeting and I kind of have my phone, you know, kind of watching the game a little bit, but not really watching because I have to pay attention to the meeting, kind of pay attention to the game. And then I saw some things happening on the court, especially on that second quarter, and I'm like, what is happening? I saw Christy Wild. I saw so many different craziness going on in that second quarter, but I couldn't really watch in a logical way as it was developing. I would only caught glimpses of the disaster, right? So I'm going into this essentially letting you know that I did not watch the full entire game. I caught pieces here and there. I watched more of the second half than I did the first half, but even that, I wasn't able to pay full attention to what was happening. I just know that it just seemed from what I was observing that it was a complete disaster, and I couldn't believe what was happening, and I was super upset about how people were being deployed. But we're gonna break it down. We're gonna go a little bit into the box score, get into that second quarter, but then we're also gonna go into the game. And what we're gonna do from the game is we're gonna evaluate the lineups that Christie sides had on the floor, and then we're gonna compare them against the advanced statistics as to what they tell us about the net rating of those lineups, right? And then after that, here's what we're gonna do. Here's what I'm gonna be willing to do for Christie sides and the Indiana Fever on my part time, right? On my spare time, from a little break that I have to create a rotational game plan for the Indiana Fever as to who should be playing in the first quarter, who should be playing in the second quarter, so on and so forth, a methodical way of how to approach, at least to have a blueprint as to how you're going to approach every game. Right now, I just can't believe the approach is to react to what the opposite team is doing. That's really what's happening. That's Christie side's game plan, is to essentially say, okay, here's the starting lineup. After that, let's see what the Aces do, and then we're going to plug in personnel from there. That's not how you coach. That's not how you create a championship team. You have a game plan. In your game plan, in your rotations, the team, the opposite team, is supposed to react to you. That's how it's supposed to work. You don't react to the other team reacts to you. What the hell are you doing? You're already putting yourself as the inferior team when you do that, because you already know, you're like over here thinking, okay, we're not as good as them, we're not as organized as them, we're just gonna go see what happens and we'll take it from there. The problem is you don't have a person, a coach, smart enough to be in the position of, we'll see what happens and I'll go from there, because she is not understanding anything about what's happening on the court. She doesn't understand personnel. She doesn't know who to mix. She doesn't even know how to read data. She doesn't. What is going on in that organization? Is there one person in there who's competent? One person who can sit down Christy sides, sit her aside and say, hey, Christy, you are messing up. This is not how we do this basketball thing. Is there anyone? What is going on? And then, of course, we're going to look at the box score, and it looks terrible. Yes, Caitlin Clark had a terrible game, but look at the mismanagement. This is exactly what I mean. So if you watched my last video, I was talking about Phil Jackson and I was talking about Greg Popovich, comparing those, and you really want a coach who either takes after Jackson or takes after Popovich. Right now, Christy Sides is neither. I don't know what the hell she brings to the table. And it's heartbreaking. I try to remain professional. I don't want to go off on anyone. It's a job. Listen, the decisions that she has to make, I don't pay the consequences for. Only she does. But apparently that ain't happening, right? Because apparently that ain't happening, and there are no accountability nowhere. And I haven't looked at the press conference. I don't really care about the press conference today. We're not going to go into that. I can guess that she said we have some shit to work on. Not really me, but the team needs to play harder, better, clean turnovers, whatever. I don't know. I guess this is what I'm guessing that she said. But maybe she took some accountability. I highly doubt it. If you looked at my video, the last video, it hasn't really gotten that many views, but the video that I just posted again with the Popovich and Jackson comparisons, you need like a Phil Jackson to kind of understand these different lineups and rotations and who plays well with who and all these different things, right? Right now, there is a huge weakness. As much as I think Becky Hammon, and we're going to talk a little bit about Becky Hammon, and I know right now she's making waves with the whole Hamby the Erica Hamby situation, and I'm not gonna comment on that. I'm not smart enough on the whole entire situation to have an opinion. But she takes after Greg Popovich. She's a great developer. She's a great, you know, uh, what is it? A coach, a mentor, a voice. She's the voice of the Aces, right? Like that's what she's taking over. She's a disciple of Popovich, but there's a weakness there. She doesn't know what she's doing with lineups and rotations either. So you have to be able to take advantage of that, because as we go through these videos, and I'm with the rotations, and I'll show you both the rotations that the Fever have on the floor and their net rating so far in the season. And I'm also going to do the net rating. So I'm going to do two net ratings for each team. I'm going to do a net rating for the entire season and another one for the last 5 games, because we need some sort of recency in there as to, okay, how have these lineups been performing over the last 5 games? And we're going to do the same thing with the Aces. And you're going to notice a clear witness in the coaching of the Aces. Their starting lineup, the Aces starting lineup, is atrocious. And atrocious, I don't even know why. Why is Stokes starting for the Aces? Are you kidding me? I'm not trying again to help the Aces out either, but you're going to notice that they kind of don't know what they're doing with rotations and lineups either. So you have to be able to then place your best lineup against their worst lineup to start the game and create an advantage off the bat. Oh my God, man. So I'm gonna show you my whole entire screen, and we're gonna start with we're gonna do the box score thing, but let's look at this one first. So here we have the quarter breakdown, right? So Aces won the first quarter by 2. The first quarter was a bit of a mess. We'll get into that as well. Because again, if you don't have a plan, you can't win games. The coaches lost, the coaching staff is lost, the players are lost. Nobody knows when they're supposed to come out. Nobody knows when they're supposed to come in. Nobody knows anything. Every single game that we've seen over the past few games that I remember, I've seen a whole entire different lineup and rotation being deployed out there, because again, it's been very reactive. What they believe will apply to what the opposite team is doing instead of sticking to your game plan. Anyways, lost the first quarter by 1. By 2, that's not too bad. Second quarter was a complete disaster. We're going to look at that. Lost it by 7. This third quarter, they won it by 2, surprisingly, and then kind of, I don't know. I mean, the Aces were equally bad this game, right? The Aces couldn't hit anything. I'm like, oh my God, this team won the title the last 2 years. That team looked vulnerable as hell. Well, they were really bad. The Fever were worse, and it's thanks to the coach. And I have to get, of course, yes, we're going to put the blame on Caitlin Clark for some of these things, but a lot of it is just mismanagement. It is mismanagement. Your star player can only do so much in the situations and the systems that have been provided, right? And then Caitlin Clark is such a professional that she won't say those things to the media or to frustrations with anyone else, right? She's just gonna she's just gonna trust the system, although I'm sure she wants to scream because she's being put in really bad situations. So you look at the 6 of 22, you look at everything like that, had a bad game, and you're gonna say, oh yeah, this is the players. This shit ain't on the players. This is not on the players, and as critical of us as I've also been on Alyssa Smith, I have to give her some grace as well. It's not her fault that they have an incompetent coach that doesn't know where to put her to succeed. Now it all makes sense, right? You have this crazy talented player. You don't know what to do with them. You don't know what to do with any of them. They've been winning games. They have a 19-18 record despite the coach. Despite the coach, it's because this team is that good. They have the players. People are like, oh, what is she supposed to do? She has no bench. She has a bench. And I'm going to show you right now that she has a bench. And that the bench players play really good if you deploy them in the right way that you're supposed to deploy them. What do you mean she has no bench? You kidding me? There's a bench. It's a pretty good bench. Did you know that Erica Wheeler was the starting point guard last year? No, probably didn't. That she was an All-Star Game MVP only like a few years ago? Did you know that? Nah, you probably didn't. Did you know Katie Lou Samuelson was also like a really good player for the Minnesota Lynx? Did you know that? No? Mm-mm. Did you know Dantas was a player who he was actually in the starting lineup of a playoff team on the Cheryl Reeve? And they won a playoff series because of Damaris Dantas, who outperformed Nafisa Collier. Did you know that? I haven't really gotten into Temi Fact Bentley. That's going to be my next player spotlight. But these players are all really good. Anyway, this is the box score for the entire this is all periods, right? So first period, it doesn't look good. It's bad. I don't know what to tell you. What? Kelsey Mitchell had a good game, but look at those minutes. 38 minutes, 37 minutes for Caitlin Clark. Almost a full game. You could tell this is one thing that I definitely noticed. She was gassed by the end of the game. Exhausted. So many things weighing on her mind, right? Can you imagine playing knowing that your coach is a terrible decision, is a walking terrible decision maker machine? That the system in place doesn't make any sense, that everything is on your shoulders as to whether this team wins or loses because of the incompetence across the whole entire system and across the whole entire coaching staff? And then having to play every single minute, and then having to deal with the media about, oh, you liked a tweet or an Instagram post from Taylor Swift. Who gives a shit? Kelsey Mitchell had a good game, 9 of 19 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3, 2 of 3 from the free throw line, 24-point good game. Of course, Caitlin Clark, 6 of 22, 27% from the field, 1 of 10 from 3, 3 of 3 from the foul line, 16 points, 6 assists. This is probably the lowest assist that she's had in a while. And here's the other thing, too. She's not being put in the optimal lineups for her to be effective. We'll talk about that. Aaliyah Boston was just in foul trouble the whole time. Essentially, it seems like she fouled out in only 28 minutes. So, I mean, having to guard, I'm assuming AJ Wilson and all these other people didn't help at all. So, not a really good game from Aaliyah Boston, which is rare. Interesting enough, Nalissa Smith had a +2, but 9.6 rebound, 1 assist. 24 minutes is way too many minutes for Nalissa Smith. Lexi Hall, 9 points, 2 assists, 5 rebounds. 3 of 5 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3. She continues to be red hot from 3. And then look at this, all kinds of stuff. But let's look at the first quarter. I just want to look at the first quarter. So Boston and Mitchell play the entire first quarter. And interestingly enough, Aaliyah Boston didn't even pick up a foul in the first quarter. She had no fouls. Hall is the one that it seems like she got in foul trouble in the first period. Nalissa Smith, okay, 641. This, as you look at this isn't too bad. I would change some things around as to the lineup, so I will show you what I would do for the first quarter. But it's something, as minutes wise, it's something similar to this. Rotation wise, it's very different. Quarter 2. Here's where the craziness happened, right? You have 2 minutes and 35 seconds for Lexi Hall. Foul trouble. I would probably still keep her in the game. Nalissa Smith, 4 minutes. Boston, 7 minutes. That's where she picked up just 1 foul. So it seems like she had 1 foul in the first half and then everything else in the second half. Kelsey Mitchell, 8 minutes. Caitlin Clark, the full second quarter. But then look at everybody else. What the hell is this? 1 minute and 51 seconds for Wheeler, 3 minutes for Fac Bentley, 4 minutes and 26 seconds for Dantas, 3 minutes and 13 seconds for Wallace, 5 minutes and 34 seconds. What is this? How are you coaching this? What? Where's the continuity? How are we making sense? What is going on? It's just, okay, you go, you come out, you go, you come out, you go, you come out. It's like, what? You think Christy Wallace knew that she was going to be in the game today? Probably not. She shouldn't have been. But what the man, oh man. And then third quarter, look at this. 10 minutes Hall, 10 minutes Smith, 10 minutes Mitchell, 10 minutes Clark. Too many minutes for Smith for the third quarter. 10 minutes Hall, 10 minutes Mitchell, 10 minutes Clark, 10 minutes Fac Bentley. That's the thing too. It's like there's no I already said there's no structure, there's no organization, there's no strategy, there's no competence, there's no anything going on here. Anyways, that's the box score. Like I said, complete disaster. Not gonna spend too much more time in that. We're just gonna go straight into the game. Oh shit, you can't see the whole thing. Okay, I'll just tell you the starting lineup for the Aces, and you probably know who's missing is Chelsea Gray, but Jackie Young, AJ Wilson, Kia Stokes, Kelsey Plum, Chelsea Gray. And then for the Fever, Lexi Hall, Alyssa Smith, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, Caitlin Clark. All right, so let's look at the lineup of Lexi Hall, Alyssa Smith, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and Caitlin Clark as far as the net ratings for the entire season. So, okay, so for the entire season, that lineup has played 149 minutes, and they're at minus 0.8, which isn't terrible. It isn't terrible if we're talking about the entire season. That lineup is not terrible. But now let's look at the last 5 games. Let's look at the last 5 games and let's see how great this lineup has been, because the last 5 games was going to tell us something, right? Well, the last 5 games, this same lineup of Hall, Smith, Boston, Mitchell, Clark is a net rating of, I want you to guess what this net rating is. Okay, you don't want to guess? It's a negative 16. Negative 16 over the last 5 games. This starting lineup. You want a bigger size? You want the last 10 games? Okay. You want to look at over the last 10 games, Mitchell, Smith, Hall, Boston, Clark. You want to know what the net rating on this lineup is over the last 10 games? A minus 18.8. Since the Olympic break, this has been the starting lineup. This starting lineup sucks. Anyway, we're going to look at, but here's the thing. Here's why I think Becky Hammond also doesn't know what she's doing. So this lineup of Young, Wilson, right? Young, Wilson, Stokes, Plum, and Gray for the whole season is negative 8.6. Negative 8.6. Over the last 5 games, this lineup for the Aces, this starting lineup for the Aces is negative 34.8. Negative 34.8. This Aces lineup. It's the last 10 games. Since the Olympic break, this lineup, again, that is their starting lineup is negative 15.5. Not a good lineup. So what do you do if you're a coach and you're trying to play chess and not checkers? You put your best lineup against their shitty lineup and win the game. Anyway, so that's the starting lineup. Let's keep going.
Tonight, the Aces play second fastest, Indiana third fastest, and Lexi Hull, the league's
By the way,
shooter.
so this play right here
is now
this play where Becky Hammond calls a timeout. What is this? 36 seconds into the game? Only 5-point difference. She calls a timeout and she's pissed. That is a psychological timeout. It's a psychological timeout. It's an opportunity, and she sees. I mean, the first opportunity that she gets to get on her players to light a fire under them, she's gonna take it. You know, that's a big difference in coaches. And yes, I'm critical of Becky Hammond in some things, as far as like being able to understand that your starting lineup is garbage. But the hell do you keep deploying them? And not only deploying them, they're giving this lineup a bunch of minutes, and it sucks. Anyways, but the good thing that she's at is the developing the theater, you know, all the things that she learned from Greg Popovich. She has that, right? So these things, you know, definitely does something to the team psychologically, as far as like, all right, let's get after it. Our coach is paying attention. You know, this is the things that she wants us to do. Let's go out there and perform. Okay, so the first lineup and rotation change that we see is that, you know, Erica Wheeler coming in for Kaylin Clark, and because Kaylin Clark is spent, right? She's absolutely spent. She's running up and down the court, and she tends to do that, but in this game it was exhausting doing so. So she's spent by, I mean, I don't know, I think the fifth minute mark. So this is her asking to come out, and Erica Wheeler comes in. But here's the other thing too, like if you don't have a plan going in that your players know exactly when they're supposed to go out and when they're supposed to come in, Kaylin Clark can be better about pacing herself. She's like, okay, I'm supposed to play through the entire first quarter. So I need to make sure that I'm, you know, pacing it and I have the energy to fully finish the first quarter, because if she's to get out before then that throws the whole entire plan. It throws it off. If she's spent, or if it's like, hey, you're gonna come out at the 3-minute mark in all first quarters, then she knows, okay, I can give a little bit more because, you know, in 7 minutes I can do. So it helps them also in their head to know, okay, I can give a little bit more energy here and there. But since she doesn't know, in her mind, she'll play all 40 minutes, and Christy Sias doesn't even know. So it's hard to keep pace. And then once that happens, now you force Christy Sias to fumble and kind of like get creative, and she's not creative, and she just doesn't know what she's doing. So, but let's look at this lineup of Wheeler, Smith, Boston, Hall, and Mitchell. So that lineup is actually pretty good. That lineup is plus 17.3 for the entire season. So that's pretty good in 12 minutes, which is, you know, it's 12 minutes. It's hard to gauge it, but it's solid, right? You have good data that you're plus 17 with Wheeler, Mitchell, Smith, Hall, Boston. So that's not too bad. And for the past 5 games, it's plus 11, but in 4 minutes. Again, it's just hard to gauge based on the amount of minutes. Let's see how long that lineup lasts. So it's 4 minutes, 13 seconds. Let's see. So here we get a substitution, right? So we go from 4 minutes and 13 seconds. That lineup that we said that for the season was plus 17. They only played together less than a minute. For the rest, I mean, this second quarter we're gonna find, but here really it just got messy. So it's hard for me to even continue this exercise, because there's no method to the madness. There's so many of these lineups that had never played with each other together, so it's hard to provide solid data as to the lineups that were on the floor at any given time. You know, a lot of us will tell you just based on maybe they've played 3 minutes together before, 4 minutes together before, but how are you at this point in the season? Really, the only new player for the Fever who hasn't played every game with this team is Damaris Dantas, right? Because she was picked up in free agency, and she's the only one. Everyone else has been part of the team. So it's not like this is a new team. It's not like people have been out injured. The only person that's been out injured, on and off, has been Temi Benley. So how is it that at this point in the season, you're still experimenting with crazy lineups that don't make any sense? It just really doesn't. I mean, the second quarter was an absolute disaster. First off, Bentley and Dantas, as you look at the analytical stats as far as their on and off courts and their net ratings, when they're paired together, they don't do well. You get negative ratings every time when you have both of them on the floor. That's what it's showing you. So don't play them together. How is that so hard to freaking understand? Even Bentley and Smith are a better combination, or Dantas and Smith is a better combination. Of course, you want Boston with either one of them. But what are you doing? All right, so in the second quarter, it looks like my lineup was deployed. Here we have, so my lineup's deployed. Here we have the lineup that should be the lineup every time. Here's Clark, here's Boston, Dantas, Mitchell, Holt. That's it. This is the lineup you want all the time. I don't know. I mean, it's 30-21 now, but this lineup, let's look at the numbers for this lineup because I think it's important. And we've looked at them before, but I think it's important that we look at them again. But for all games, yeah, so this lineup in 32 minutes is a plus 31.8 for the season. Over the last 5 games, this lineup is plus 38.9 in 14 minutes. Over the last 10 games, this lineup is plus 40 net rating, and not in no 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes or 25 minutes. This lineup over the last 10 games is plus 40 in 32 minutes. Let's see how long they were on the floor, and let's see what happened to the lead while they were on the court. So what the hell happened? Somebody please explain to me what the hell happened. The game was 30-21. You had your optimal lineup, your best lineup, your beast lineup, your plus 40 in 32 minutes over the last 10 games. It was 30-21. They made it 30-25. And you bring in Katie Lou Samuelson and Christy Wallace? For what? Why? Why did you do that? And you bring this lineup? And they were actually starting to make a run? Things were just absolutely crazy here now. I mean, I don't even know what's happening. Now Smith is on the floor, and who's out? Smith is on the floor. Ho is out. I guess she's in foul trouble, I guess. So I guess you got to leave her out. But Mitchell's out. Anyway, a true disaster. You need your best lineup to close out the second quarter. You need your best lineup to close out the fourth quarter. I don't know what's happening here. Too many substitutions. Too many people that don't even know they're going to play. They're in here. I can't continue to repeat myself. I swear that I don't try to make these videos about about Christy's sides or about the coaching. I don't really, that's not what this channel, I don't think this video, YouTube channel is about. But I can't help seeing what's happening on the floor. And I'm just going to jump to the end just to see what lineup they were trying to close the fourth quarter with. So I don't know if this was the closing lineup because I know Aaliyah Boston was fouled out. So I guess this is the best that they came up with. We got Clark, Hull, Mitchell, Samuelson, and Bentley. So this lineup on the floor it appears that they haven't played more than 5 minutes together. So I'm not going to give data on that either. It's just a complete mess. And we can blame whoever. To me, this game was lost by the coach, by the lack of preparation, by the lack of strategy, by the lack of a game plan, by the lack of continuity, by the lack of knowledge, by the lack of competence, by the lack of everything on the part of who's supposed to manage this team. Everything. Yes, the players on the floor didn't deliver, but that's not on them. How are you going to give him, brand new combinations of lineups of individuals who've never played together and then expect them to perform? And not only that, they're not the most optimal individuals to be on the floor at the same time anyways. So what are you doing? Everything. It was just a complete display of a disaster. Like, you cannot. I'm telling you right now, you cannot coach any worse than this. You cannot make any worse decisions than these. You cannot have so much like cluelessness in a job like really. This is on television. At least if we suck on our day-to-day lives, nobody gets to see it. This is on live TV, everybody to see your utter incompetence. So, having said all that, done with this game, I really can't believe this is something that I'm seeing and that this is actual reality. So, having said all of that, here's what I'm gonna do for Christie Sides and the Indiana Fever, and I can't believe that I'm gonna do. I can't believe that I'm gonna do this shit for free, but here we are. So I'm gonna name it Fever Rotational Game Plan. I'm gonna name it. I'm gonna show everybody, all you. I mean, share this if you want to. Oh yeah, please, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to my channel to see more videos like this, more rants like these. Like the video, share it especially with the Indiana Fever. That'd be great. But here we go. I'm gonna put this first cell. I'm gonna name it quarter. This one I'm gonna name it minute mark. This one I'm gonna name it center. Power forward, small forward, shooting guard, point guard. And I'm gonna give you the current net rating so this is all season. And this net rating for last 5 games. That way, we're not missing anything important. You know what I mean? That way we're good to go. So let's get this a little bit more over here. Okay. So first quarter at the 10-minute mark, we want Benley to start. We want Boston, of course. We want Hall. We want Mitchell. We want Clark. Net rating all season for this lineup is, drum roll. Net rating all season for this lineup is a plus 32.2. Last 5 games, 33.7. That way we know. First quarter, so let's have him play 5-minute mark. I think here so we can either go back Benley and maybe bring in Smith, but then I would leave Boston, Hall, Mitchell, and Clark. And then if we leave Benley, we get 32.2. If we put in Smith, we get a negative 4.8. So this is not that terrible. Oh, and also, okay, well, I'll get there. I'll get there when I'll get there. And I'll do that. Last 5 games. So 33.7 if we leave Benley. Minus 16 if we go with Smith. Okay, so first quarter. So here's the thing, right? here's the other thing that here we're just gonna do Smith, and then we're gonna leave Boston. We're gonna leave Hall, and we're gonna leave Mitchell. But here's the thing, right? So for Kalen Clark, what I would do if I'm Christy Sides, I would just ask Kalen Clark, hey, you're gonna take a break the first half no matter what. You're resting at least 3 minutes in the first half. So that's 20 minutes. You're gonna play 17 minutes in the first half. Do you rather rest the first quarter or do you rather rest the second quarter? I don't give a shit. You're resting the first half. I don't care what you have to say. I don't care you want to play the whole game. I don't care. Which one do you choose? And then I'll kind of go from there to build the entire lineup from Clark's preference. But right now, from what I'm observing, she tends to get gassed in the first quarter. So let's give her a break at the 3-minute mark. Let's take her out and let's put Wheeler. All right, so this lineup of Smith, Boston, Hall, Mitchell, Wheeler. For the whole season, they're a plus 15. Yeah, for the whole season, they're a plus 15.6 in 13 minutes, which isn't insignificant, right? That's a good amount of minutes to be playing with a teammate. But then let's look. Okay, so we don't need. That's what we have. And then the last 5 games. Last 5 games, they're plus 11.1 in 4 minutes. So it's not a lot. It's not a lot, but at least it's okay. I think it's doable. You can survive this, right? So now we go into the. Hey, so start this second quarter. I'm gonna start the second quarter with Smith, and I gotta rest. I gotta rest Boston, and I gotta rest Hall. So let's see. Here's where we bring Dantas into the mix. We'll get Smith. We'll get Samuelson. We'll get Wheeler, and we'll bring back Kalen Clark. Okay, so I don't think this team has played together much. Dantas Mitchell. So this lineup here has never played together. So zeros across the board. Now you say, damn, Samuelson and Smith should never be on the floor at the same time. First off, we're gonna limit it. This is not gonna be for too long. It's only gonna be for 3 minutes, and then we're gonna limit it to 3 minutes. So that shouldn't be too bad. And there are a bunch of lineups where this combination of Danta, Smith, Samuelson, Clark. Yeah, there are combinations where this is pretty good. So let's see. Or I'm sorry, no, there are actually combinations where the Smith, Samuelson, Wheeler, Clark, they have positive ratings, so they have been combinations. But instead of Dantas, it was Hall. But again, like I said, we're gonna limit this to 3 minutes. So in the second, we'll go to still staying in the second quarter, the 7-minute mark. We're gonna stay with Dantas, and then depending, we either stay with Smith or Boston, depending on how things are going and how much of a rest we want to give to Boston, and then this one, Samuelson or Hall, depending on how much of a break we want to give to her. Same thing here with Wheeler and Mitchell. And then here, we're going to go Clark. So here, I mean, Danta, Smith, Samuelson, Wheeler, Clark, if we leave that again, it's 0. If we go with Dantas, Boston, Hall, Mitchell, Clark, we already know that is crazy amounts of success with plus 34.7. And then 0. In the last 5 games, this team has actually been even better. 38.8, 38.9. And then I'm going to close. So second quarter, 5-minute mark. I got Dantas or Fact Bentley, but I'm gonna be leaning Dantas right now only because that has been yielding the most. And I also think that Caitlin Clark has like her best games on the floor when you see her hitting threes. Actually, the 1 3 that she hit today was with Dantas on the floor. She was 1 of 10. And I know it was a step back that she created on her own, but it was with Dantas on the floor. And then you see a bunch of the screens. Dantas sets some of the best screens for Kaylin Clark because again, the opponent is unable. She's a big body, so are unable to go over. They have to go under, and then you're in trouble. And you're giving all that space to Kaylin Clark. So Kaylin Clark has a lot more room to operate on the offensive side. So if you want to like inflate Kaylin Clark's numbers so that she gets MVP and she gets more points, she gets more assists, then you want Dantas on the floor. If you want more defense, the problem is you're going to pack the paint and Kaylin Clark is no longer going to have that much freedom to operate because it's going to be clogged if you have Boston and Fact Bentley on the floor at the same time. That's why I prefer to have Dantas that can spread the floor and still set crazy screens, but everybody can just, everything. The whole court is now wide open. So we'll do Dantas, Fact Bentley, depending on the situation, but I'm leaning Dantas, and then we'll go Boston, of course. Cole and Mitchell, Clark. And this lineup, as we said, is 34.7 plus 34.7. And in the last 5 games, 38.9. And this is it. So I don't have any lineups really, with the exception of this lineup that is lasting only 2 minutes. Only 2 minutes of this lineup that has a negative, which is the current starting lineup, right? So the current starting lineup would go in at the 5th minute mark of the first quarter for 2 minutes before some substitutions are made, and then you have a plus negative rating for the season type lineup on the floor. And then, of course, you want to end with your strongest. You want to end the second quarter with your strongest lineup, no matter what. Then we go into the third, and this is pretty much going to be similar to what we've already done. 10, Fact Bentley, Boston, Cole, Mitchell, Clark. Actually, I can just, I won't copy paste it. I'll still do this exercise so that everybody can kind of track and see what I'm doing. So 32.2, 33.7. Third quarter again. At this 5-minute mark, we want Fact Bentley or Smith. Again, you can kind of, if you want Fact Bentley to get her reps, you can do that. Just the problem is you don't want to disrupt the flow of the game for any of these players. So there has to be some sort of rhythm and some sort of method into this. Enough time where they can, okay, they're on the court, and I know I'm going to be on the court for this amount of time. That way, everyone knows. Everyone has to know what the game plan is, and don't react to what the other team's doing. Stick to your plan. Have them react to your plan, not the other way around. You have the personnel to make it work. It's not like you have a small lineup like the Golden State Warriors with your death lineup that went extremely small, and then you really had to depend like who you're playing against. If you're going this small, are you going to be able to get any rebounds? You don't have this situation here. You have the personnel. You're good. What are you trying to react to the other team for? It doesn't make any sense. You have the personnel. You have the weapons. Deploy them. So Boston, Cole, Mitchell, Clark. And then this is either, I'll copy paste this one because it's either this or that. And then third again. And this is for the 3-minute mark. And here we had Smith, Boston, Hall, because I'm going to have Boston and Hall play the entire first quarter. Boston, Hall, and Mitchell play the entire first quarter. And then I'm resting Clark. And then I'm bringing back Clark, right, in the third quarter. But I'm resting Mitchell for Wheeler. And I'm resting Hall for Samuelson. And I'm resting Boston for Dantas and Smith. And I just want Dantas so I could have her, first. But let's just have her play the most important. Have a full, the flow of the game. Have a full quarter. Okay, so you won't play the first, but you play the full second, and you already know that, and you're gonna make your impact because 12 minutes is enough time to make an impact. If she does that, she'll play 24 minutes a game. That's pretty good for her, I think. I mean, not 24. I'm sorry, 20 minutes a game. It's not 12 minutes like the NBA. So you play 10 minutes, 20 minutes a game. That's perfect. Smith, again, you have to keep her under. So I think with this plan right now, she'll come in at maybe at the 5-minute mark. So 5 minutes and then 3 minutes. So that is 8 minutes. So she'll play 60 minutes. Perfect. As long as she plays less than 20 minutes a game, perfect. That's enough. She'll make her thing. She'll contribute. She'll get some playing time on the floor without Caitlin Clark, so she can, if you want to show off now, go show off, do whatever. Wait, no, not third. This is fourth, right? Fourth quarter, 10-minute mark, and this is what we have: Danta Smith, Samuelson, Wheeler, Clark. Which this wasn't. Oh yeah. So this was 15.6, 11.1. We've never seen this before. This is just your APO special. So anytime you see this lineup on the floor, if we ever see it, this is the APO special. APO special. Don't forget that shit. Let them know too. 7. Dantas, Smith, or Boston. Depending on how soon you want to bring Boston in the fourth quarter. If things are like, this is not looking good, you want to bring Boston right away. If you have a little bit of a cushion, then you want to give her a little bit more rest, then you can do that as well. And same thing with these other players, right? This just allows you the flexibility to see what you need at any given time, but still within the constraints of this build. And then if we do that one, we have 0 because we've never seen it. Or like an amazing lineup. And then you close with the shit. 6 minutes on, you got your Dantas or Fact Bentley, but again, leading Dantas, Boston, Hole, Mitchell, Clark. And this is okay, so this 34.7, we combine it with the in case we go with Fact Bentley instead, then 32.2, and this one in case we go with Fact Bentley instead, 33.7. And then the same thing here. And there you go. This is it. So look, free. I'm working for, man, I can't believe I spent all this time to work for free to build a rotation and a game plan for the Indiana Fever. This is insanity at its best, is what this is. This is insanity at its best. And the problem is, okay, you will say, okay, X's and O's. Like, for instance, I know Awful Coaching does a good job with the X's and O's, but he doesn't really get into the lineup combinations. I think once you have your optimal rotations and lineup and your game plan, then that's when you bring in the X's and O's. But right now, if this were a house, you're trying to build the kitchen and the bathroom before you have a foundation. So you have to build the foundation and then apply X's and O's and then apply all the other elements of coaching, right? That's why you need different individuals with different strengths to bring these different things into the mix or onto the table. So anyways, this is it for my video. I just wanted to really display that anybody can build a freaking game plan and based on statistics, based on what you see on the floor, based on what your just basic knowledge of basketball, which seems to be lacking with this team. But here's what I'm gonna do also. So for the next video, what I'm going to do, I'm actually downloading NBA 2K5 as we speak. So I'm going to deploy this rotation and this lineup just to kind of have a creative visual depiction of what this looks like in real time through the video game. Now I haven't played 2K in a while, so this is the first time that I'll be playing 2K since probably the 17 version. So it's been a while, but we'll get back in there and give this a try. But again, if you enjoyed this content, please remember to like your video, to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the support that you've shown to this channel so far, and I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.